I'm sure you saw last week we retired David Wright's number Hall of Fame. I think he didn't get hurt. I mean, was he in your mind on a Hall of Fame path?
Oh,
David?
David?
Yeah.
As I say, both he and Mattingly the same thing.
Yeah.
I think it wouldn't surprise me a bit if down the road, with the Veterans Committee, that, he gets a lot of consideration. Because, I mean, I know 14 years, it's still significant time, but if you look at his numbers and just add a couple of more years to it,
Right.
then he'd have been an automatic.
Special edition of Amazing Conversation with my first manager, Joe Torre. Guys, 45 years ago.
Yeah, but I didn't last very long under
Well,
your
you did.
leadership.
Yeah.
You realize that.
Hey, my first
You
manager
realized I was a threat to you, and you made sure you got rid of me.
Before we start, happy anniversary. 50 years ago today, you set a National League record 4 double plays. Four
Well,
double plays.
I was
Joe.
hoping you'd bring that up.
4 double plays.
I
You blame it
remember.
on Felix because he hit singles.
I couldn't have done it without him. He could have hit a double. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Jay, I think he hit the last one off the wall, but he knew I had a shot at the record, so he stopped at first base.
I think he might be the only National League player since there hadn't hit the 4 double plays.
Oh, there's no question.
But things got better though, right?
Because now if you hit into 2 or 3 double plays, the manager's going to be smart enough to pinch
Take it
hit
out.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I have to be proud of the record. I did it. What can I tell you?
Oh, so 2013. I'm sure you saw last week we retired David Wright's number Hall of Fame. You managed him into WBC, big Captain America under your tutelage. What back then did you think what happened would happen later on with him?
As far as
His ability and how
his ability was, not even in question. I mean, he was again. There was nothing showy about him. All he did was put on the uniform and play hard. And to me, there was a similarity to Don Mattingly.
Right.
For him, he was the right hand hitting Don Mattingly.
They both
to
had
me.
Manley had back problems too, right?
Same thing. They both played 14 years. All their numbers are very similar to each other. And another thing that you don't see in the stat sheet, maybe if you read the stat sheet, it may come up, but they were really good in the clutch.
Yeah.
They both crave for the pressure, and they handled it really well.
Manley only played for the Yankees, right?
Yes, he only played
Well,
for the
David
Yankees.
only played for the
Right.
Mets too.
Yeah.
In your 13, he had a grand slam against Italy and I think 5 RBIs against Puerto Rico. Then his ribs got hurt.
Well, he came into my office and he said, he just felt something in his back at WBC. And I said, well, go back home, which, I meant go back to Florida, go back to spring training. And he said, no, I'm all right. I think I'll be fine. I said, no, you're going back because, knowing first off, I know the WC was World Baseball Classic was very important, but not as important as someone's health. And, when he said that he felt a little bit, I said, just go on back. We're going to miss you, obviously. And, but
you lost the next game, right?
we did. We did get knocked out. But as I say, somebody's career is worth much more than, winning.
Joe, at the end of the week is the Hall of Fame. I know you're not a progressive. I see you in the future. I think he didn't get hurt. I mean, was he in your mind on a Hall of Fame path?
Oh, David?
Yeah.
As I say, both he and Mattingly the same thing.
Yeah.
I think it wouldn't surprise me a bit if down the road, with the Veterans Committee, that, he gets a lot of consideration. Because, I mean, I know 14 years, it's still significant time, but if you look at his numbers and just add a couple of more years to it,
Right.
then he'd have been an automatic.
We're so close to people in the Hall of Fame. Shouldn't character account for something? I mean,
you have to check all the boxes,
Right.
and as far as character and respect for the game,
right.
which you certainly know that David had that.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't have to say anything. All you had to do was watch him, and he was he was a role model. And even though he only played 14 years, people were watching. And when I say people, his teammates, players from other teams, and he was there to admire.
I know you were a big help a couple of years ago when the Mets. Gil Hodges got into the Hall of Fame. 35 ballots, no good. I know you spoke up for him. Did you ever meet? You must have met Gil along the way, right? I mean,
I did. In fact, he was in the hospital in Florida, and I went to visit him. And this was, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was 1968 or 69.
he had his first heart attack.
Right.
Right.
And he, I mean, what can I tell you? Gil was another one of those role models. Let me tell you a funny story. My brother Frank was in the World Series 1957.
Right.
He was with the Milwaukee Braves. They were playing the Yankees in the World Series. And my mom was on the Today Show. They just, they thought it would be a nice, a nice interview. And my mom got on there and they asked her several questions about, of course, Frank, when he was a kid and all that stuff. Then they asked her who her favorite player was. And she said Gil Hodges.
Really?
Not Frank Torre.
Not Frank Torre?
Gil Hodges.
That's not good.
But I'll tell you what she liked about Gil is, he didn't argue. If he struck out, he walked back. He always acted in her mind as a gentleman.
Yeah.
And of course, he was a fierce competitor, even though, he didn't show it outwardly. You knew there was a fire burning inside.
And he had a lot to do with making it easy for Jackie Robinson. I was told from me.
There's no question. But if you remember, how he, you weren't born yet, probably. But when he had the World Series, where he had a horrible World Series,
that was at 50. Yeah.
But he still was classy, in the way he handled it. He always had respect for the game.
Yeah, it was nice.
Always had respect for the game, and he had a ton of home runs.
Yeah, over 340, 350.
Yeah, he had a ton of home runs. But he started out as a catcher.
Right.
And then wound up as a Gold Glove first baseman.
So tell me about Safer at Home. You're here helping bring some attention to it. How old is the fund? It's 20 years?
We started in 2002.
Right.
So, we're 20 plus years. We put safe rooms in schools for kids dealing with abuse. I was going through it. I was lucky. I had the ability to play baseball. I had a place to hide. My dad was abusive to my mom, made me very nervous, even though I didn't get physically abused. I was frightened, and I was a nervous kid growing up, and I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself, and I never even went out for my high school baseball team as a freshman because I didn't think I was good enough. Come to find out later, going through, some counseling, that all that stuff that my dad was doing in the house, he was a New York City detective, and,
wow,
and
I
so
didn't realize.
I saw him, threaten my mom with the revolver and stuff like that as an 8 or 9-year-old, but never shared it with anybody. And once I went through the counseling, instead of thinking I was born with all these what I felt frailties, as far as being nervous and no confidence, I realized it was what my dad was, bringing on the house.
Was it hard for you to come? How did you get it out publicly? Was it a press conference or?
When that counseling I went through was right after I was named Yankee manager. So, it was, 1995. And how did I get it out? We talked about, first off, we talked with my wife, Allie, because we always got involved with a charity involving kids. Right. And she asked me, what charity should we get involved with in New York? And I said, how about domestic violence? And it caught her off guard because we never really talked about it.
Right.
And then, it was through my my wife and my older daughter, Christina, because she was a teacher, and they decided to do it through education. And if we were going to, if we were going to end the cycle of domestic violence and save lives, you have to do it through education, because these kids, they have a role model. Say, like, my dad was abusive. Maybe that was their role model. They
Right.
thought that's what they were supposed to do. So, the two things we always stressed with the kids coming through our program, which is part of the curriculum in the schools, is it's not their fault, and they're not the only ones dealing with this. Because I thought I was the only one dealing with it, and I thought I did something wrong that caused all this to happen. So that's the message we gave these kids back when, and it works. We have, close to 50,000 kids come through our program every year, because we have like 19 programs on the West Coast. We have 8 here in the New York
And
area.
these are your golf tournament to help.
And we have a golf
Which
tournament
all your
that
guys
raises
go
money.
religiously. All the guys come back.
Yes, and then we also have a gala in November every year.
I mean, it's hard to keep a charity going all that when all this stuff's going on in the world. It's a testament to you that you were able to keep it going this long.
Well, I think the biggest thing, Jay, is the fact that we know it works, and we need these kids. These kids are our future, and if we let say these girls say go out into society without feeling good about themselves, it could go in a bad direction, because unfortunately there are a lot of bad people out there that are looking to take these kids in a bad direction.
And you named it one of the houses after your sister Margarita.
You know what? We called our foundation Safe at Home. We called the safe room Margaret's Place, after my mom.
Yeah, your mom.
After my mom. And then my sister took, she couldn't take Margaret when she went into the convent.
Right.
But Marguerite was available, so she took Sister Marguerite as her name, and when she became a nun.
Let me talk back to Mets a little bit. In a nice way, records weren't great. Is that fair?
Records weren't great as far as what?
The team records were.
No, they weren't. How about, when I became manager,
Right.
the first thing I had to do was trade Tom Seaver.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
You were player manager, in May of '77?
May 31st, I became manager.
And then 10 days later, bye-bye, Tom.
Well, actually, it was.
Was it midnight mass?
It was at that time, like right now, what's July 31st is the trade deadline. At that time was June 15th.
Right.
And he got traded on June 15th. And, we didn't know actually if we were trading him to Cincinnati or to the Dodgers.
Right.
We were seeing which deal was best for us. And then it turned out Cincinnati, and we got a good number of players, Doug Flynn and Pat Zachary and Danny Norman, right? And Joel Youngblood came later on. And, I mean, you had a couple of them, and, played pretty well.
He did,
But
Doug,
again,
Gold Glove, Doug Flynn.
Yeah, Doug Flynn. But it was tough because, Tom didn't get along. I guess Dick Young was writing bad things and taking up for the team. And Seaver handled it with a lot of class. But it was very tough. He was very emotional. I remember June 15th that year, we were in Atlanta, and he come up to me. He says, "You mind if I leave early?" Because he knew he was getting traded, and he didn't want to deal that day with the media, so he did it at home. He came, I guess, the next day at home.
His eldest daughter just died recently, Sarah. She passed away from 53 years old. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that, Jay. That's
So, Joe, you managed Mets for 5 years?
Yes.
5 years?
Yeah.
Then the Cardinals?
No.
Braves?
Then I went to the Braves,
Braves,
and we won, we won our division in '82. But after 3 years, I was let go there, and then I broadcast. I worked for Gene Autry for 6 years
One
as
of
a
my favorite
broadcaster.
shows.
Yes.
Trigger, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you
I
think
was
after,
never in any of those shows. Yeah.
after you got fired from the Mets, did you think you would wind up Hall of Fame, 4 World Championships, 6 pennants? You know, just an icon in around here. Did you? I mean, looking back, how it started. I mean,
You know, when I, I'll always feel, you know, a soft spot in the heart with the Mets because they gave me the first opportunity. M. Donald Grant allowed, me to become the manager here. And I learned a lot, and the only way you can learn it is by doing it every day. And I was here, as you said, for 5 years. And then when I got let go by Ted Turner in, in Atlanta, and I broadcast, I thought I'd get another job. I interviewed for a couple of, I think I interviewed for Pittsburgh. I interviewed for Minnesota. But they picked guys who I couldn't understand it. Jimmy Leland
yes,
and Tom Kelly,
yeah,
two pretty
good
successful managers. But I wasn't sure. And really, if it wasn't for Dal Maxfield, who was the general manager of the Cardinals,
an old teammate, right?
who was a teammate, plus he coached for me,
Right.
and brought me in to replace Whitey Herzog when Whitey decided to retire. And, I got fired from there, after I think it was 5 years again. And I don't know if this is public knowledge. I know I mentioned it, not trying to hide anything. I met with Stick Michael, who was the GM of the Yankees. Before they offered me the manager's job, they offered me the general manager's job. And it was funny. We were sitting having lunch, and they offered me, the job. And I said to Gene Michael, I said, and I knew the answer. I said, "Is there any vacation time, being a GM?"
No.
And of course he said no. And I said, "Well, I really can't take the job because my wife was about to give birth to our daughter, and I, and I knew that responsibility was going to certainly take precedent over, managing for the Yankees.
So
being a general manager for the Yankees."
So when I started with the Mets, April 1st, 1980, I was a 33-year-old kid out of college. What was your first reaction when you saw
Fairleigh Dickinson, right?
Yeah, Fairleigh Dickinson, yeah.
That I remember.
First road trip, you took me to St. Catherine Street, Montreal, bought me 7 of the ugliest fat ties known to mankind. 7 ties. You made me wear, every day I had to wear the same rotation for 2 weeks.
Yeah, but you don't understand, Jay. You realize how many shirts you saved from having
I did. They were wide ties.
Right. So you couldn't get food on your shirts.
No, that was, we did.
You got them on the
favor.
ties.
Yeah. You know, another thing, I got a really.
I did you a favor at that time.
When you did your Bigelow tea commercial.
Yes.
And my brown
And you
suit,
were in it.
I was in the Bigelow tea commercial.
Right.
I got no residuals.
Yeah, but I did send you a couple of tea bags.
That's now Harry Rose drinks tea, but I know, Joe, you were so what was the place, your restaurant you used to take us to? These were the P.
Oh, Ponte's.
Ponte's, yeah. Nice Jewish place, right?
Yeah, it's yeah. And we had all denominations.
Yeah. You were nice to me. Our old dear friend Arthur Richmond.
Yes.
He may rest in peace. He was a character, wasn't he, Joe?
He was beyond a character.
Yeah.
He's the one that called me after I didn't accept the general manager's job at the Yankees. And he said, Joey, he says, how would you like to be on the short list being considered for manager?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I'd love it. And that list of managers considered by the Yankees was Sparky Anderson, was Tony La Russa.
That's not bad.
Was Davey Johnson.
Yeah.
And it was me.
Yeah.
And Sparky had retired. La Russa got my job in St. Louis that I got fired from. And Davey already committed to the Orioles. Yeah. So they were stuck with me.
You know what I remember when you were hired? I'm sure you haven't forgotten the Daily News headline, right?
Yeah, Clueless Joe.
Clueless Joe.
Clueless Joe.
Come a long way since then, right?
Well, I got smart over the
Yeah.
you know how smart I got?
How?
I had good players. That's how smart I got.
Joe, let me ask you this. Now, say how do people want to contribute? How can the general public reach out and help your cause?
Well, the first thing they should do is go to joetorre.org.
Right.
And they can, obviously read more about what we do and how we do it.
Right.
And then there'll be an area there on our website if they want to make a donation. But being here at Citi Field, sure, we want donations because the more money we raise, the more kids we can touch. But it's more awareness, and also our website will tell people how to get in touch with someone if they're going through some domestic violence, not only the kids, but the grown-ups.
You get a lot of calls privately about the subject, Joe?
What's interesting, I've done interviews like we're sitting here talking now, and after the interview is over, I've had the person who interviewed me come up and whisper in my ear that, we had this when I was growing up, or another time, a cameraman, when I was doing a TV interview, come up, gave me $20.
Really?
To go, stuff like that. It's a subject, Jay, that's tough to talk about it.
Right.
Unfortunately, it exists, and it's something that really needs to be addressed and come out of the shadows. And we're proud of what we do because we know that we benefit these kids who come through our program.
Before I forget, somebody brought to my attention. What do you remember about the Subway commercial you did with Willie Randolph?
I remember sitting in the Subway, at the sandwich shop, and I do remember that.
It was a big seller back in those days.
Yeah, you bet. And Subway's still a big seller right now.
Yeah.
And I also did a commercial with Bobby Valentine.
Yeah, I remember that.
Remember that for Continental Airlines at the time. We
Yes,
put them out of business, didn't we?
What do you think of the stuff in New York now? The Mets were always the little sister, little brother.
Right.
I mean, it's turned a little bit with Soto coming here and.
Carlos has done a great job over here, and it's all about pitching.
Right.
I mean, he's and the luck part is, Jay, and you've been around long enough. The luck part is staying healthy.
Yeah,
and that's the toughest thing. But you got some really grinding players in here, and those are the kind of players you need if you're gonna go on to postseason. That's for sure.
One guy's been overlooked. Our good friend Louie Mazzilli was Derek Jeter before Derek Jeter when he played. Is that any fair? Maybe not totally, but he captured New York. The back page. He's a good-looking guy. The great Mazzo.
Mazzo, he was the local kid that everybody, appealed to. He appealed to everyone, and plus. In spring training, he had Willie Mays teach him the basket catch. And I was fortunate enough when I was managing that Willie Mays was one of my spring training coaches. And that was pretty cool because he was always an idol.
He's my idol.
Oh, he was an idol of mine. I mean, I don't know if first off, when Willie Mays came on the scene, I lived in Brooklyn, New York, and I wasn't a Dodger fan. Okay. I was a New York Giant fan. When Willie came on the scene, I was 10 years old. Excuse me. Little did I know, 10 years later, I'd be trying to get him out.
Yeah.
As a catcher. But Willie, we, wind up with having a relationship, and it started when I became manager, and he was one of my coaches. He was a sweet man. He's missed, but he'll never be forgotten with the way he played the game.
Number here
Yeah.
So lastly, safe at home. Just website's the best way for people to find.
Yes, joetorre.org. It'll give them all the information and maybe more than they're looking for, but it's there for them to use if they need to be in touch. And of course, we always welcome a donation.
I'm proud you were my first manager. I'm sorry I got you fired, Joe, but you didn't do too badly after that. Though.
Yeah, but I'm getting over it.
Okay. 45 years
I'm
later.
getting
you're
over
it.
Love you, JJ.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.